right, let's get started. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Today we have Zunaid. Before we jump into the talk itself, I'll talk a little bit about PM School and what we do and what today's session stands for. So at PM School, we run an 8-week, I would say, intense bootcamp where we transition anyone who's interested in pursuing the path of being a product manager from not having any kind of knowledge to being able to sit for product interviews, for product management interviews for roles in startups and tech companies. So we accelerate your journey to become product managers. And with the star session, which we have for today, this is a bi-monthly series of talks from industry experts sharing insights from from their own product journeys to help you as well in your own product journeys. So with that, I hand it over to Zunaid, who will be walking us through a super interesting topic, as well as something which a lot of product folks do not get exactly right during their product journeys as well, right? So looking at building virality, for a B2C product. All right, Zunaid, all up to you.
Thanks, Kushal. Hello, everyone. So today we'll be talking about how we can build virality for a B2C product. I will primarily be covering things from my own experience, but we would also look at how different companies deploy different growth hacking strategy to build virality for their product. Mainly, I'll cover things from from my experience where I've worked on different B2C product and unlocked organic growth for those products. During the session, I would like you to ask as many questions as possible. This would keep the session engaging and interesting. Kushal can help in curating the questions that you may have on the chat. And I think we can get started with the session if all set. So just a quick intro about myself. So I graduated from IIT Allahabad, a computer engineer. Post that, I had worked in tech roles in different companies. I worked in a startup called TinyAll, a food delivery tech startup. Post that, I was working as a senior software engineer in Zoomcar. Post that, I founded my own company called Nudge.me, a mobile app to help people improve their English skills. We launched and scaled the platform to more than 5 million users across the globe. Most of it was acquired organically, almost more than 90% of the users. We were selected by Google as one of the best apps of 2017. We were also an editor's choice app on the Play Store. We were lucky enough to sell our IELTS vertical to Leap Scholar, a Series C company. And post Nudge.me, I joined LogicKids, an edtech startup where I was taking care of their two products, LogicKids and LQ Live. LogicKids help kids improve their mental aptitude through interesting, fun worksheets and educational games. Post that, or in my current stint, I'm working as a lead PM at Apna Jobs. So Apna is a hiring platform for blue-collar workers, where it connects job seekers with recruiters. It has more than 30 million candidates who are looking for jobs on the platform. I currently take care of the enterprise product, as well as I'm driving the employer growth at Apna currently. So, well, that is about me. We can now deep dive into the session. I will first cover Nudge.me, the first product that I worked on, where we were able to achieve the organic growth, where we scaled the platform to more than 5 million users. At one point in time, we were able to scale the platform from 100K to 1 million only in a period of 6 months, where we had not spent any dollars on marketing. Our customer acquisition cost was zero. And we were, at that point in time, we were even one of the top rated or one of the highest rated edtech platform across the globe on the Play Store. So I'll talk about what were the different levers that we deployed to achieve this exponential growth. So one thing that really worked for us was a word of mouth. And for any product to get a word of mouth popularity, it needs to have some kind of a unique value proposition, or as Kunal Shah says, that it needs to have some kind of a unique brag-worthy proposition. So the idea here is that the value that you are providing to the user, it needs to be brag-worthy enough so that your users, they go out and talk about your product to other users, and which will help you build the organic growth or word of mouth growth for your product. For us, what was the unique insight that we had, and or what was the most brag-worthy proposition for our product? So we had this unique insight that everyone wants to improve their English skills, but they don't want to put much effort to do so, or inherently humans are lazy, that they want to get better at something, but they don't have enough motivation while they would want to achieve that kind of perfection. So Nudge.me, which basically helps people improve their English skills. The solution that we provided to users was that they can improve their English skills through bite-sized lessons. So the idea over here was that if we can break a large piece of information into smaller chunks, so that would help reduce the cognitive load. Anyone doesn't have to sit on a mobile app for say long hours and then grasp the particular concept. What we did was that we broke that long piece of information into smaller chunks, the concept which is called as say micro learning. And to make it more easier, or you can say the cherry on the cake, was that we would ask users how many number of bite-sized lessons that they would want during the day, and we would deliver that piece of information as small bite-sized cards in form of notification throughout the day. So even if you are working, you would get a piece of information, and then you can just quickly consume that piece of information and move on. So that was the whole value proposition, and that really helped us gain the initial traction. And what eventually led to the success of the product was that what product was promising, say we would help you improve your English skills in the easiest way possible, that was working for the users. Our users felt that they were really or the product was really helping them improve their English skills through these bite-sized lessons. So the whole concept was that these bite-sized lessons would be delivered to you over a period of time, so that the learning becomes effective. So at the end of the day, so we just didn't have something unique which people would brag about, but at the end of the day, we had something effective too. So for any product to get that word of mouth publicity for a longer duration, you need to have a key value proposition, something which user would value, would like to talk about it to to friends, to their colleagues. And but at the end of the day, the product should also be fulfilling the key need or the key ask of a user. So this is where we were able to get a good word of mouth publicity, and we were able to drive good traffic using that. Coming to the second lever that we deployed was referral hooks. So while we had built this product, improve their English skills through bite-sized lessons, we also deployed a lot of referral hooks within the platform. So user would come on the platform, take some key actions, but then they would be hit, then they would get get hit, they would hit a paywall, a credit paywall, a virtual credit paywall, where they can unlock a particular premium feature or content only with the help of credits. So we devised, or we were using a virtual currency on the platform called Nudge Credits. So user can earn these credits by being more engaged on the platform. So that actually helped us drive the engagement on the platform. And there was another way for users to basically earn these credits by sharing the app with other users. So when users were getting engaged on the platform or on the app, they would get hit by a certain premium feature or premium content. And when they were inclined to unlock that content, this is where our referral hooks would come handy. And then it would drive the users to share to share the app with other users. So this is how our whole referral hook strategy was, and that really worked well for us. Any questions, guys, till now? Okay, then I'll continue forward.
We have one question, Zunaid. From Sakshi. Are there aspects of gamification you used with Nudge.ai to increase the retention of users on the platform? Yes, could you share them?
Yeah, sure. I'll be covering gamification. I was able to use gamification a lot with my Logic Kids stint, so I'll cover that too as well during the session. That works, right, Sakshi?
Yes, Zunaid.
Okay, cool. The other things that we tried was, so basically we were heavily focused on building a good quality product, and we had opened multiple feedback channels with our customers. The idea behind this, or why I'm mentioning this as a kind of a growth strategy, is basically unless we talk to our customers, unless we get the right customer feedback, we would not be able to know what is something which people want, what is do they crave about in the product, and how we can double down or improvise on that particular feature or feedback and make the product better. So if we have opened multiple channels, be it email, be it phone calling, be it surveys, etc., so you would get a lot of feedback. You can collate that right feedback and then build upon your product. And this actually helped us to improve our ratings also on the Play Store. As I said, we were one of the top rated EdTech app on the Play Store with 4.8 ratings. And then if any product or a platform has a very high rating, good reviews, so then actually what it does is it drives organic traffic more to your platform. A lot of people would get influenced by these ratings, reviews, and then it would further unlock organic channels for you. Coming to the next growth lever, which we deployed, is basically how we were using content to drive growth, where we were unbundling the brag-worthy content for our user from our platform to other platform. So as I just mentioned, that for to get a good word of mouth publicity, or for user to share your app, your product needs to have something brag-worthy about it. So on the similar lines, or having the same principle, we used to build these very good visual aids where a user is looking at these cards, which are pictorial in nature, and which is helping them basically retain these vocabulary words or concept for a longer duration. So they were not only effective in terms of what the product was promising to be, but they were unique and something brag-worthy, something a user would want to share. So a user would not want to share anything which is business as usual. They would want something which is unique, which is really interesting. And this strategy of using content to drive growth also helped us to build another channel of organic growth. So people were sharing these small bite-sized, interesting pictorial images with other users on other platforms. So in a way, we were unbundling the content that we were creating on our platform to other, say, social media platform. And that was again linking back to our platform as growth of organic traffic. Similarly, while we've been working on these product-led growth channels, we were also making sure that we were not just limited to one channel of growth. We were also focusing on the different distribution aspects, be it social media activity, where we ourselves were posting this interesting content. We were heavily focused on optimizing our traffic on the Play Store. So I'll talk a little bit more about how we can optimize the Play Store traffic as well. So if you have a mobile app and on the Play Store, there are two kinds of traffic which your app can get. One is search traffic and one is explore traffic. So search traffic is where you'll research about the keywords which have a high traffic, and you can stuff those keywords in your description, etc. So when a user would search, say English, say in our case, if a user would search English, so we would be among the top 3, top 2 apps that a user would get. So they would be top apps like Duolingo, etc. And then they would also be nudge.me, which would be ranking among the top 3 or 4 apps with the important keyword like say learn English or improve English. So this is how you can drive the search traffic. There's another important aspect of driving Play Store traffic, which is explore traffic. So while there are a lot of people who are just exploring different apps or downloading other apps, and they may not have come directly to your particular product, but they would get a chance to explore your product on the Play Store. So over here, uh, if you have built, if you're focused well on your app icons, on your descriptions, your reviews are good, your ratings are good, and what kind of review replies that you have given. So this would help you get clubbed with other apps which are of similar nature. So we would get tagged along with say Duolingo or other English learning apps. So we would also get traffic from say similar apps category. So on the Play Store, you must have seen that there's a category called similar apps. So even though you have come to download Duolingo, you would also get suggestions for similar apps, and that is where say nudge.me would be placed, or similar category other apps would also be there. So again, if you focus on your Play Store optimizations, having good app icons, having relevant description, focusing on reviews and all, so you should be able to drive organic traffic using this strategy as well. Then there's a top apps category and featured apps categories as well on the Play Store. So you could come as part of the top apps if you have a very good install velocity. If a lot of people are downloading your app in a smaller period of time, then you might become part of the top apps. And then people who are exploring that top app section, they would discover your app, and then they can further download the app. Similarly, if you have been following the good ASO practices, and also if you have some luck, so you might get featured on the Play Store, and that would actually drive a lot of traffic to your product. So we were lucky enough to get an award by Google Play as one of the best apps of 2017. We were also featured as Editor's Choice app on the Play Store, and from time to time we have been featured um, as apps made by Indians for the global audience on 26th January, on 15th August. So that has actually helped us keep the organic traffic going. And so these are the different channels actually on the Play Store itself where you can focus on driving the growth if you have a mobile product or if you have an app. So these were the different levers that we deployed to unlock this growth. And while we've been doing this, we were heavily focused on measuring things at all levels. So we were looking at which channels of growth are working for us, and then based on that, we were optimizing those channels. Say if we have put out or if we have been if we are getting a traffic from say a Quora post, so we would know that hey, this is something which we can double down. We should invest more on this particular channel. It can give us good results. So these were the different things while we were focusing on multiple levers, but we were heavily aligned on what we need to measure and how we can improve our traffic. Similarly, on the Play Store conversions also, so you would get a lot of visitors who would look at your app, but if you work on improving the conversion by measuring what is your current conversion rate, what are the things you can improve, can you improve your app icon, can you improve your app snapshots, etc. So that would help you improve your traffic from not just from Play Store, but from other sources also. So again, measuring things is again a very key aspect on driving growth or on double downing on the growth channels. Any questions still here?
Yes, Junaid, we have a question on chat by Navin.
Okay.
So his first question is, what are the different channels through which we collect customer feedback?
Yeah. So so for collecting customer feedback, there could be multiple channels. So one is you need to make your contact us as accessible as possible. Say if you have launched a mobile app, then it needs to have how those users can reach out to you. Do you need to put an email ID? So that is one way your users can reach out to you. Say suppose if you have a mobile app on the Play Store, then you would be constantly getting reviews on the Play Store and feedback over there. So that needs to be taken with a lot of care and attention. You need to reach out to the users who are giving you good feedback and who are even giving you bad ratings. You need to identify which are those users, what are the concerns, and then try to reach out to them to see what has not worked for them, what were the issues that they face, and how you can make the product better. So these are the two things. And similarly, if you can put it on your website also, few email IDs that they can reach out to you. You can even put out your mobile number if you are in an early stage startup. Other than that, from time to time, since users would be signing up on your platform, so what you can do is you can run surveys, you can send them WhatsApp messages, or you can set up a calling channel, depending on the investment and time and effort you want to put into it. So these are the basic different channels which one should look at to interact and get the right feedback from customers.
Okay. His second question is like, what kind of questions to ask to customer that gives proper feedback?
So, Naveen, it's again, it's a very subjective thing on asking the right questions. So it depends on what kind of a product. But at the end of the day, you would definitely not ask leading questions. You should try to understand the pain points of the user, not bring in your bias while you are collecting the feedback. Say if you have built a particular feature and you would want that feature to work, your question should not be biased or influenced with say, hey, do you think this feature is good or not? Rather, the questions, the way you can get the right feedback is you should try to understand what pain he's facing right now, and that should that should give you the idea, or that should give you what kind of solution you need to build for that particular problem. It should never be the other way around, that you have a solution in mind and then you're trying to validate that. So I think that is one way I go with. I go with basically, I normally, when I do customer calls, I normally have some template in mind, some kinds of questions that I would ask. But normally what I have seen that during the customer calls, if it's a free flowing call, if it's a free flowing discussion, then that is something which would give me the most insights. Then I have a prepared list of a checklist, and hey, I need to ask this question, that question, etc. So in that case, it is also not, it becomes a lot more mechanical. I would rather like to have it more of a free flowing conversation, so that I can understand the pain point of that user, the persona of that user. Why is he using the product? What is his motivation? What kind of pain point is he facing? So that is how I go about during the customer feedback calls.
Yeah. So Junaid, his third question is like, how do we prioritize the feedback which we have received?
So, obviously, not you can't prioritize all the feedback that you would be getting from the customers. So you would have different. You can follow some kind of a prioritization framework while you've been encountering different kinds of problems from users. Say suppose during the customer feedback call, some users would suggest, hey, I need to have this kind of a filter. Some users would suggest, hey, I need to have a button or a pagination option. Some would, and similarly, there would be multiple feature requests, multiple problems that they would be facing. Right now, at the end of the day, you need to take a call depending on your engineering bandwidth, depending on the ROI on the investment, and depending on the metrics that you are chasing. Say right now, if the key metric that I'm chasing for a particular product is engagement, then I would focus on those problems which could help me drive the engagement. If I see that a particular feature would have impact on the engagement and the effort and the effort that needs to be put in to achieve this particular impact is less, then I would prioritize that feature first. So you can anyway follow any prioritization prioritization framework to get started while you have multiple backlog items or multiple problem sets. And then based on that, you can prioritize.
I hope Naveen has answered your question. We have another question from Amrita. What was the revenue model?
Yeah, so the revenue model was freemium. Users would come on the app, would explore the free app, and then they would subscribe to the premium version of the app, where they would access the more premium features, premium content, premium offering by upgrading to, say, monthly or yearly subscriptions. So that is how the platform worked.
Okay. Junaid, we have another question. What are the best ways to drive user engagement and retention on a product app?
Okay. Yeah, so I'll take that question as I move along in the session, just keeping a check on time.
Yeah.
So I'll be anyway covering gamification. I think that could give good ideas about how people can drive engagement and retention on the product. So I already covered how we can optimize Play Store traffic. So now talking about the next concept where we can use gamification as a growth lever. So at a concept level, gamification is basically how we can use different game elements to achieve a particular goal. And how this process works of gamification is that, first of all, we need to identify what is the intrinsic motivation for a user to use the product. So a user needs to have that motivation to use a particular product. Once we know what is that motivation, we need to set a goal for a user that, hey, you need to achieve this or you need to do this. And we need to show them that how they can achieve it. Now, coming to the part of gamification, can we gamify that journey for a user? Can we make that path more fun and exciting? And this is when you need and to make that part more fun and exciting, so that at the end of it, when you are even driving a core action, a user doesn't feel to be a more burdensome task, or it doesn't feel that it's a very it's not exciting enough, and the user will get drop off. So gamification as a concept is used not just to a growth lever, but it is also used for driving engagement, driving retention. As at a very basic level, if you want to, if today I want to say gamify my referral process, I would say something like that if you refer the app, you would get bonus. The more referrals you bring in, your bonus would get double. Or I could say like that, hey, the top 10 people on who would refer most number of people would get, say, iPads. So in a very basic sense, what you're trying to do is you're trying to build that motivation for a user to share the app. So this is at a very basic level, this is how gamification can be used as a growth lever in terms of how we can use to drive engagement and retention. So I also have a follow-up slide, so I'll cover that part there. So now I'll talk specifically from my experience, how I used gamification to drive organic growth at Logic Kids. So Logic Kids is an app for kids which help kids improve their mental ability through fun educational games. And we were able to move from 3K monthly organic users to 30K monthly organic users, new users, by deploying these gamification strategies. So as I said, the first step is identifying what is the motivation for a user to take an action. So for Logic Kids, that action was, hey, can I make the learning fun or not? So while we were struggling to crack the organic growth, what we realized as an insight was, even though the product was used by kids, by parents really loved the product, they would come and buy worksheets on the platform. They would even give good reviews about it, but we were not able, the challenge we faced was that we were not able to unlock the organic growth. And the reason, one key reason or insight was that the learning on the platform was not fun for a kid. At the end of the day, it's the kid who is going to use this platform. So, and for a learning platform, instead of a push coming from the parent, it should be the kid who should enjoy that learning process. So over there, we figured out that how we can use gamification to make learning for a kid, so that we can have, so that a user has motivation to use the product. The next step was, hey, if we can set up some kind of a goal for a user and then show them how they can achieve it. Over here, what we did was we basically set up a 5 minutes daily training. So the whole ask was, hey, you can get smarter by using 5 minutes of Logic Kids app. So that value proposition or that goal was set even both for the kid as well as the parent. Now comes the part that what will I get even if I complete this daily training? So this is where the different game elements would come in. Say, hey, while you would finish your daily training, you would have a better ranking on the leaderboard. You could get a badge, or you could earn gems which you can use on the platform. So these were the different gaming currencies, the motivation which a user can have to complete or to get engaged on the platform. So this is where what we are trying to do is we are trying to build engagement and retention, or we are trying to build a daily habit for a user. So this I think this also answers your question, Naveen. So this is how we can use gamification to build more engagement and retention, where we are able to tie a goal with the end reward for a user. So now for driving the growth for, using gamification is that once a user is taking that key action, so you need to build referral hooks around that. Say if a user has earned a badge, then you need to push or nudge a user to share that badge with, say, other friends, or maybe share that badge in a WhatsApp group of the class, and so on. Similarly, you can while they are trying to have this key action of completing the daily training, you can try to put a fixed or a credit wall, pay wall for a particular premium feature, and which they can unlock using, say, gems, the currency which they would have earned by completing the daily training. So this is how you can even drive growth using the gamification. Any questions on this?
Actually, we have 2-3 questions on chat. Do you want
Okay.
to take them up?
Yeah, sure.
So the first question is, what kind of strategies do you initiate to level up your rating rate on Play Store?
On the Play Store, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, you need to build a good quality product. You need to keep up the promise that you have made to the end users. And then while the product is in initial phase, then you need to actually control which users can go and give a rating to you on the Play Store. In the initial phase, when you are not sure whether your product is working, is it a buggy product, or a user is not happy with your product. So what you can do is basically you can try to put in a custom feedback channel within your app itself, where you are asking, hey, are you loving the product or not? And depending on if a user has any complaints, then just taking that feedback and then working on that feedback and talking to that customer. If a user is really loving your product, then what the next step for a user to do is that you can drive that user to the Play Store. So now what you're doing is you're basically filtering out the users based on whether they are happy with your product or not. So what or how this helped us was that we were able to get only good ratings and reviews on the Play Store initially, and people who are not satisfied with our product, we would go back and try to solve their problems, and then we would go back and then nudge them to give us better ratings. So this is how we were able to control good ratings and reviews on the Play Store. We worked on the title, description, getting good app icon, getting Play Store snapshots, working on the ASO traffic by looking at the keywords, and the different strategies which I discussed about getting featured for, say, similar apps categories, top app categories. So all this can help you build a good organic traffic on the Play Store and good rankings on the Play Store.
Yeah, Junaid. We have another question. What best method that you choose to bring customer engagement to your product?
What best methods do we use
To bring customer engagement to your product?
Yeah, so again, it depends on what kind of a product you have. So say if it's a self-learning app, right? As I just showed the example, or if you take even the example of Duolingo or say headphone. So a lot of these products, they deploy strategies of gamification or working on basically a hook model, which I'll just cover next. So I think it would give you a better idea about how you can drive the engagement for a product. So talking about a growth loop and a hook model. So these are just, if we just, the things that I just discussed, right? And if you take a zoom out view of these things or the strategies that we deployed, so it is basically how we try to implement these two models with say nudge.me or even Logic Kids. So so what is a hook model? It's basically what you're trying to do is you are trying to create a nudge or a trigger for a user to take an action. Say and then you need to build some kind of a core action which a user can take in the easiest way possible. Then you are linking that action to some kind of a variable reward, so that a user feels satisfied on taking that action. And once they have taken that action, once they are happy with the variable reward, at the end of the day, you need to try to instill a sense of achievement and ownership or a feeling of getting invested into the platform. So I'll just give you an example. Say, as I said, in case of say Logic Kids, the trigger was, hey, can you complete the daily training? It would only take 5 minutes. You would get smarter. You would get smarter. So that was an external nudge or a push for a user to complete the daily training. The core action was, hey, to complete the daily training. The variable reward was, say, if you complete the daily training, then you would get, say, gems, or you would get, or you would be able to complete the streak, or you would get a better ranking on the leaderboard. So these were the variable rewards, and which again leads to satisfaction of a user on completing the action. In terms of the investment, so suppose a user has taken this action, your user has got a better ranking on the leaderboard. So now he's in a way invested into the platform. He would not want to go away from the platform because now his ranking has improved. So if he goes away, then all his effort that he has spent for say 2 days, 3 days, then that would go in vain. Similarly, the concept of streaks, that also worked with a similar principle that, hey, you have completed 5 days of streak. Now, if you try to break this habit loop, or as people said, hook model, then you would be doing away with your the investment that you have put into the platform. So this is what we tried to achieve when we were implementing gamification in the feature, and this helped us drive the engagement and retention. Now coming to the growth aspect of things, so this core action was linked to referral hooks, which actually helped us to drive the organic growth. So while a user is taking or has taken a daily training, maybe they have earned a badge, and this is the core action that they have completed. We would create a nudge for a user to share that badge among his friends. So now a user is sharing the app, a new user is say discovering that say an app or a product like this exists. And once they are coming back onto the platform, then they also get into the same loop. Hey, you need to complete the daily training first, right? So then this growth loop continues, a new user comes in, and then he again does the same process, and then he again invites new users to the platform. So this is how both nudge.me and Logic Kids were structured in terms of how we were able to drive the organic growth as well as engagement and retention. I hope this answers a lot of questions related to engagement and retention as well.
Yes, Junaid, I guess we can go ahead.
Sure. So I'll move to the next concept. So So Apna, where I work currently, so they have been really effective in using community as a growth lever, where they have been using community to drive the organic growth. Apna has more than 30 million users who are looking for jobs on the Apna app. And there are more than 2 lakhs recruiters who are posting jobs on the Apna platform. So how people use community to drive growth is, say, if a user is getting engaged in the platform, user will try to add his friends, say, to a particular group or a particular community. He would share the app. User A will share the app, then another user will discover the app, download the app, and then will again be performing the same action on the app, which we already saw in the previous slide. But in case of a community, to make that community to be healthy, this linking of when a new user joins with the invitee is very important, because this is more like, say, if a user B joins, then what you are trying to do is you are engaging user A that, hey, your friend has joined the platform. So it is more of an update to user A. So in this case, what is happening is that this is enabling network effect within the platform. Now user A knows that his network is growing, his friends are growing, he is getting an updates when his friends are joining on the platform. So even though user A might have become dormant, even say he would have shared the invite, and he might have become dormant, right? He may not be actively using this app anymore. But once a user B joins, which is ideally in his network, considering he has shared this app. So once he joins, user A gets a nudge, hey, your friend is on the platform. So this reactivates user A, right? So this is how the community becomes healthy and the network effects come into play. And this is not just unlocking the growth, but this is also driving the engagement for a community. So this is how people use a community to drive growth on platforms. And this comes from the LinkedIn double viral loop growth playbook. So LinkedIn also deploy in the earliest phases of its growth. LinkedIn also deployed this strategy. When a new user would register, they would ask the current company and the title of that particular user. And then they would show nudge, hey, this user belong to your company. Do you want to send the invite? So now, or do you want to join them or send them an invite connection? So now a user A is sending invite to other users. And now when other user registers, then again, you are engaging the invitee that, hey, your friend from your company has joined. So then again, this is the same concept of driving growth and engagement within the community. Any questions related to this?
We have a question on gamification.
Okay.
Pratik wants to know, if not gamification, what could be the other modes of engagement? For example, I'm a toy manufacturing company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pratik, if you can share more context about the question, toy manufacturing company, are you producing a physical toy or
This question has come from LinkedIn Live, Zanan. So we'll just wait for Manish to see if Pratik can answer that question. Cool. We can allow the follow-up question from Pratik to trickle in, and then we can still continue with the lecture.
Sure. Yeah, so coming to another growth lever. So a lot of people use social proofs also as growth lever, where people just try to show to other users that, hey, people are loving this particular product. So something what TikTok did by getting in a lot of early adopters, by helping them create interesting videos. And so then other people would fall in line of say, hey, are we missing something which is interesting? We should also create videos and so on. So similarly, people use social proofs to drive growth by, say, for example, you can have a testimonial, review, case studies. On the app also, you would at times see that, hey, this app has been downloaded by so many users. This is what its rating is. So the small, or this is this has a parental control, or this is kids friendly, and so on, right? So small nudges which validates that this particular product has been loved by other users can again help you drive organic growth, because normally people tend to follow other people. If they like something, they would at least want to give it a try. Other than that, you can go with influencer endorsements, user generated content, where again people are generating UGC, and then that content is getting put out or unbundled on different platforms. So then new people are discovering that content, and then and based on what kind of content has been produced, they would get a pull to at least try that platform. And then social media activity is one thing where you just go out and put out what your product is about. So these are different ways other than gamification, where you can even use social proof to drive growth. So we discussed different levers to drive organic growth. It could be word of mouth, gamification, referral hooks, social proofs, community, etc. But having said that, which lever will work for a particular product is very subjective. However, these strategies, these framework, or the framework of deploying these strategies, that is common. One needs to experiment which strategy will work best for a particular kind of product. A particular strategy may not work for my product, or some other strategy could work. So when it comes to driving organic growth, it is a lot about experimenting and seeing which channel is working, and then improvising on that particular channel. So to conclude, the secret ingredient of driving organic growth or building virality. So as Mr. Ping from Kung Fu Panda has famously said, there's no secret ingredient. And to make something special, you just have to believe that it's special. So I would like to end on that note, and would like to take if there are more questions.
Thanks for the session, Sunil. Folks, we have some time for questions. Please either unmute yourself and drop in your question, or you can drop them in the chat box as well. And we will spend the next 5-10 minutes, to answer your questions. All right, maybe while people organize their thoughts and ask questions, and I'll drop in a question for you. So let's say if you are working as a product manager for a market which is not India, right? It's a new market. How would you go about, let's say you're working as a product manager for a company in the Europe or US, it's a completely different cultural mindset. So in such situations, what's the best way for a product manager to get a better understanding of building his virality groups in the fastest way possible? What are your frameworks?
Yeah, so again, the customer understanding is very important, right? With respect to GTM, when we are launching in a particular market, say suppose if you are building a particular product while being in India, and if it's only for a particular location, so we need to understand the customer well. We need to understand the pain point. So this is actually the fundamental to any product. So unless we identify the intrinsic motivation of a user to use a particular product, we would not be able to say gamify not in literal sense, but yeah, at least gamify whatever we want to achieve that user to do. So unless we understand the psychology of that user, we would not be able to make that user to share our app. So we need to understand what is he looking from our current product. So we need to have that journey of user understanding, of identifying the user problem. And once we have a clarity of that, then obviously we can build user flows around it. See what is the core action, or what are his motivation to use a product, and then over there definitely it could be a completely gamified experience, or it could be a referral hooks, etc., which we can use to drive growth from the product.
Sounds good. We have a few more questions. So what are some of the common pitfalls or potential pitfalls to avoid when attempting to build virality in B2C products?
I would say, as I said, that there won't be like a one single solution that could work. Say, hey, let's do this, and this would really work well for any product. Or this is how LinkedIn cracked the virality, or this is how Facebook did it. Let's do the same thing. Each product is different. The user journeys are different. So we need to understand while we are deploying these strategies to drive virality or to unlock organic growth. So we would have to understand the context of the product better. A customer understanding needs to be there, and only then we would be able to use these different strategies effectively. We can obviously learn from what different products have tried, what worked for them, and then in our context we can use those things.
Absolutely. I think as with any data-driven techniques, building something with the best assumptions, giving it a shot, getting the feedback to or data to probably fine-tune the engine and see if make it work is a tried and tested method for building virality loops or building engagement as well.
Yeah.
So we have one more question. What strategies and levers can we use to achieve the initial virality for a consumer social product whose value highly depends on network effect? So any social media product or social product which involves a marketplace of users, I would say, creating and consuming content. That's what I take away from Shamik's question. So it's more or less like a cold start problem. So what are your strategies for that?
Yeah. So in this case, I would quote the example of LinkedIn and Apna as well. So where they were able to drive the social network using a community. So the one key thing, even with Facebook also, where you were sharing it with your friends and your friends were joining and so on. So any social network, so to start a social product and drive virality, first you need to go hyper local about it. So only then you would be able to not just build a virality, and because it's a cold start problem, you need to have engagement, and then you also need to drive the virality at both hands, right? So basically what you need to do is while you are pushing a user to share the app, you need to ensure that hey, his users or his network is coming onto the platform. If you launch a social product and if you acquire say 1 million users from all over India, and where people don't know each other, so that social product will have no value for me, right? Unless if I join a social product and if I have 100 friends from my circle on a particular platform, so then that product or a social platform becomes a lot more valuable to me. So I think to solve cold start problem for such cases, we need to go a little bit more hyper. We need to build a more localized network first, and then use that similar strategies to grow outwards.
Sounds good, Junaid. Are there any, again, a question from my side on behalf of the audience, are there any books or sources of information which purely talks about growth or building virality, which you can recommend?
For engagement and retention, I think Hooked is one book, I think, which people can refer. That is something which I talked about in the Hook model also. And for growth strategies, I think there's a lot of content already on the internet, which you can refer to how different products have been able to crack virality. LinkedIn, a book by Reid Hoffman is really a good source, I would say, to look at how LinkedIn was able to crack virality in its initial days. That is actually and that playbook is used today as well. So I think I'm not able to recall the book name, but I think these two books are a good way to start.
Sounds good. While we have a few more minutes, any I would say feedback or any pointers you want to share with the audience on being really proficient at building this hypothesis for trying out, various things to ensure, the product is getting the right kind of engagement. Any pointers, any advice as an end?
Yeah, so I think people have asked really good questions during the session. So I'm happy with that. Other than that, yes, so as a product managers, so one thing is very important while we are building these growth strategies or engagement or retention loops and all. So one thing is that we should be good at measuring things, whatever we are trying to achieve, and then we need to have a good understanding of our customer. Only then we'll be able to drive our growth or engagement or retention. As I just mentioned with Logic Kids, it was a good product. People were using it. It was more of a push coming from parents. They were even they were monetizing well, but it was not able to crack that organic growth or something which makes it just a more lovable product. So over there, you need to just get into the psyche of the end user. What is the motivation for a user to use it? And then while you are looking at whether engagement, retention, or growth, you need to be on top of your matrix, understand which channels are working for you, what kind of a change that you are bringing in the product is impacting the different user funnels and flows.
Sounds good. Folks, we'll just pause, or rather we'll wait for one final question before we end today's session. We have 5 past the talk anyway. So if you have a final question which we can drop in the chat or unmute yourself and ask Sunaid, now's the time. Otherwise, we end today's session on a high note. All right, we have a question from Shamik. When using the growth levers you mentioned during the session, do you have any specifics about picking up GTM strategy? Can you give an example, Shamik? Or Zunaid, if you understood the question, you can take a stab at it.
Yeah, so yeah, again, so while you're deploying these growth levers, so one thing is very important, that you're not acquiring any kind of users. So because it could impact your tofu, your top of the funnel, you would say, suppose you might have put out your product out there, or you would have you have built some really solid growth hack which is helping you to acquire users on the platform. But if those users are not relevant to your product, then what it would do is, at the end of the day, it would hamper your engagement, your retention, your everything would go for a toss. So again, identifying the right users, and then again, which is again a subset of your GTM strategy. So you need to be sure what kind of users you are acquiring on the platform, which are relevant to your product.
Cool. All right. So with this, we end today's session. Folks who have joined us both on Zoom as well as on LinkedIn, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out on a busy weekday to join us here, Zunaid, to talk about growth strategies and virality. I'd like to extend my thanks to Zunaid as well for taking his time to be with us today. We have a lot of viewers on the LinkedIn channel, actually, Zunaid, more than more than people who have joined on the Zoom.
Okay.
Thanks so much for taking the time out and being a part of the session today. it was obviously an eye-opening session for a lot of people who are new to growth, new to thinking growth as in the lens of virality and building viral loops for your users. And I hope you have great takeaways which you can either use in your existing products as well, or in a product which you are planning to build or a feature you're planning to build in the future. So with that, I end today's session. You will find the recording on our YouTube channel and LinkedIn as well. So please keep an eye out for the communication going out there. And if you want to know more about PM School, please reach out to us directly. Any of the founders or Manish and Priyal who are from the PM School team, and Priyal has shared the invite over email, so you can reach out to us if you're curious about knowing how we can help you build the dream product management career which you always wanted. So with that, we end today's session. Thanks again, Junaid. Thanks everyone for joining, and have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kushal. Thank you, Junaid. Bye, everyone.
Bye.